Oh, this is Mr. Hornsby83. This is the Mr. Hornsby83 show, and I am back with my back-to-back double duty videos where I just did the video where I talked about how the 1995 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie should have been made. And I'm getting things straightened out real fast. Now I am doing a review of some movies, which I gotta get the warning out of the way first, so warning, especially for this one, this video is definitely not for kids under the age of 13 or younger. This is for, people who know these movies and have watched these movies, watched the 70s versions of them and all that. The Shaft movie. So, I am reviewing the 2000 Shaft movie starring Samuel L. Jackson. And I am reviewing the 2019 Shaft movie starring Samuel L. Jackson. I'm going to compare and contrast the movies as well. I'm going to talk about which one I think had a better storyline, which one had more action, had more, Shaft being Shaft. Which pretty much I could say the second one pretty much had more Shaft being Shaft than the first one, which I'll talk about when I get into the review. So yes, this video is not for kids under the age of 13. It's not even for kids under the age of 18. So, now that's out of the way, let's get into it. So, Shaft, the 2000 movie. Now, the thing I like about this movie is the way it starts, it's a race crime, and Christian Bale is playing the perpetrator, which I can't remember. I think his name was something, but he was some rich white boy. He was hassling this black guy who was coming in there with a friend of his, and he was harassing him, and then the black guy got mad, but he didn't hit him or anything like that. Instead, he took a napkin, carved out some holes in it, and put it on his head, made it the shape of a Klan hood. So that infuriated Christian Bale's character, and he went ahead and freaking went out there, killed the guy, and then everybody's talking about it, and Shaft's trying to find a witness. And then at first the dude was just unconscious, but then the guy actually dies. And then Christian Bale's character said, "Homeboy finally got rhythm." So Shaft turned around, punches him in the face, which was awesome. And the guy, the head of his office that he was, I guess the head of the police that he was working for at the time. So that's it, Shaft. You are being fired or suspended from this police station. And he's like, "For what?" He goes and hits Christian Bale again. He's like, "For that?" And because of Shaft hitting him, the dude got acquitted because Shaft did get physical with him. And he was supposed to be on bail, and he wasn't supposed to leave the country, which he ends up leaving the country. And Shaft had the whole mission where he's trying to get the guy through this whole thing, but while he's waiting for that guy to return, he's dealing with the head of a, I guess, Mexican gang, and the guy's name is Peebles. And I think the character that Christian Bale plays, his name is Walter Peck, yeah. So, while he's waiting for Walter Peck to come back to the United States, because he was in Alaska, he's going after Peebles' people, but he didn't realize they were Peebles' people. And yeah, that sounds kind of like a paradox that I'm saying peoples. So I'll be saying that back and forth a lot. But anyway, Shaft sees Peebles looking in because they're busting these other guys. Sees him looking in. He takes a basketball from one of the kids playing basketball in the neighborhood. Throws it at Peebles. Peebles comes down and he's talking smack to Shaft and all that, and he puts his finger on Shaft's chest, and then Shaft arrests him. He's like, "Oh, alright, you're arrested for assaulting an officer." So Peebles gets arrested, and then he finds out that Walter Peck's about to re-enter the United States, so Shaft's like, "I gotta take care of this." He catches him, and Walter Peck, because his dad's a rich guy and he's a rich guy and that, gets off for the crime of the guy that he killed at the beginning. And the reason why is because there was not enough evidence, and the main witness would not, come clean, because we find out later on in the movie why she didn't come clean, and we'll talk about that as I get further on into it. So the whole movie is pretty much after that, Walter Peck and Peebles end up connecting with each other while they're in jail. They're talking, and then Walter Peck eventually goes. Yeah, I think his name's Walter Peck. Yeah, Walter Peck eventually goes to Peebles for help to take down the witness, because Shaft's like, "Hey, I still got the card of the witness." Because he had that lady's card at the beginning, and Shaft thought he threatened to kill her or whatnot, but that wasn't the case. He did kind of threaten to kill her, but he also, made her an offer that she didn't refuse. So Shaft spends the other half of the movie trying to figure out where this witness is, trying to get a hold of her so she can testify against him so he can go to jail and pay for the crime he committed. But along the way, you run into crooked cops, and plus Peebles is working with Walter, so it's pretty much Shaft against the world, trying to stop it. Two crooked cops, Walt Peebles people and all that stuff. And finally, he gets a hold of the witness. They take the witness, but a big old shootout happens, and Peebles' brother gets killed, so he wants to get revenge on Shaft for that. And eventually, it comes down to Shaft taking down Peebles, and then Peck gets arrested, and Shaft's confident that they're gonna get their justice this time, and he's telling the grandmother, because he talked to the grandmother earlier in the movie and told him, I don't know if it was grandmother or mother, it might have been mother, of the guy that got killed by Walter Peck. So I don't even know if the guy's name really is Walter Peck. I know his name was Walter, I just can't think of the last name. I know Walter Peck's also a character from Ghostbusters, so I apologize if I butchered your name. It's been quite a bit since I've seen the last Shaft movie. Well, the 2001. I mean, they show it on Showtime and that all the time, and I've watched it a couple times on there. But and she's like, I know we will. And as he's getting out of the vehicle, he's walking, he's all, got that, what do they call it, that smoldering face and all that. And then his facial expression changes and it turns into fear, and he's like, no, 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 no. And the guy's grandma or mom shoots him and kills him, because she knew the courts probably wouldn't have convicted him again, because you know how the justice system is. The justice system is about as crooked as some of the cops out there in the world, as crooked as the freaking government and all that. So, anyway. So she kills him, and she gets arrested, but hey, she didn't like the fact that the justice system failed her the first time, so she took matters into her own hands. So I don't really blame her. Her son that guy committed a race crime against her son or grandson. I think it was her son, though. So that guy got what he deserved, but overall, I feel like this movie is a very underrated movie. I feel like when it got criticized when it first came out, a lot of critics weren't good on it, but it was actually a really good movie. It had a good story to it. It had a good bit of action to it. It had a Shaft feel to it and all that. And the fact that the critics and that did not give it a good review at the time it came out, I think is ridiculous, because this was a good movie. In fact, I'm going to give this movie a 5 out of 5, because that's how good I thought it was. And I think Sam Jackson played the role of Shaft really well. Another thing in this, too, the original guy who played Shaft was playing his uncle, but it kind of gets rectified in 2019 one, which now I'm transitioning to 2019 one, which I seen around Father's Day last year with my dad, and because I didn't know my dad was a Shaft fan. I mean, I had seen the old Shaft movies, and I had seen the 2000 Shaft movie, but I didn't know he was a fan of it, so I invited him to go see it last year for a Father's Day present for me and him. And first off, the whole plot of the story is based. Oh, let me get into I gotta warn you, spoilers. If you haven't seen this movie yet, it's been out for almost a year. I don't know why people haven't seen it. Maybe because all the people making a big deal, with the SMJ community or whatever it's called, and all these other people. But all these women that are into all these girl power movies probably made a big deal about it too. So anyway, this one is based around Shaft trying to reunite with his son, but what started him being out of his son's life was he was after this criminal, which was, I guess, a huge drug dealer at the time, and he wanted to catch that guy because that guy sent an assassin to try to kill him while he was in the car with Junior, and at the time, I guess the woman that Shaft ended up falling in love with, which makes no sense because Shaft is like the, and they make a joke about it too in the movie, but Shaft is like the African American version of James Bond. So Shaft falling in love, that's kind of weird. You know, I could see him wanting to be in his son's life and all that, not getting to see his son and all that. But falling in love with somebody, that's not the Shaft way. That's just like James Bond falling in love with somebody. So, so that's what the whole premise is. And Shaft is still after this guy after all these years. I guess they make no mention except for one time of the 2000 Shaft movie, which I'll get to in a minute. And he is a private investigator in this one. He's not a cop. He's a private investigator in this one. So it's based after the first Shaft in 2000 that he did. So he finally reunites with his son because his son had a friend that got into some stuff, and you know he wants to help his son's friend because he wants to, you know, show to his son that he's a better person than his mom probably made him out to be. And you know, Shaft kind of looks at his son like, "Oh my God," because you know he's kind of got that, you know, hipster millennial, you know, that freaking thing now. He's like, man, the old fashioned, like the kid's a internet baby and all that stuff. And it's like, you finally got, he's like, Jesus Christ, man, what's wrong with my son? You know, that's the way kids are these days. They're more worried about being on phones and, you know, more worried about looking like hipsters. And, you know, guys look like women, women look like guys. It's just a crazy world. Being, you know, and I'm not saying I'm against that, but being gay is okay nowadays in this world. And you know, I don't know how many people put hate on this, but I'm sure a lot of those girl power people put hate on this movie just because, you know, it was Shaft being Shaft. That's the way the Shaft movies were back in the day. That's the way the 2001 was, even though they didn't explore it too much in the 2001. It was still pretty good. In the end, Shaft finally, you know, his son finally realizes he's not as bad as the mother is making him out to be, and it seems like the mother is kind of, you know, starting to fall in love with Shaft again, and, you know, all that stuff. And, you know, Shaft, it starts out when his son comes looking for Shaft, it has a lady open the door, she's topless, so you see the boobs, it got some kind of, I guess, glitter on her boobs, like at the top, not the part that covers the nipples and all that. But, you know, so it starts out with that, and you do see a lot of Shaft being Shaft in this movie, unlike the 2000 movie where he's just focused on catching the bad guys. He was actually Shaft being Shaft, so yeah. It had that old school Shaft feel, and I felt like that's one of the things that made it. Even though I feel like the first Shaft movie had a better storyline, and, you know, this storyline was supposed to feel more personal because it caused him not to be in his son's life. This criminal caused him not to be in his son's life. But the 2000 Shaft movie, it felt like he was more personal with Peebles and freaking the Walter guy in the first one than he was this one. And we did get the part where the original guy who played Shaft was his uncle in the 2000 movie, but then he's talking, then they go to talk to him because it's like 3 generations of Shaft. And he's calling him Pops and all that, and his uncle says something, or his dad says something, he's like, this coming from a guy that used to pretend he's my uncle. So they rectified it by that line. And honestly, I thought both of these Shaft movies were good. Like I said, I'm hoping it's not another 19 years before we get the third Samuel Jackson Shaft movie. It could be kind of like Shaft now transitioning from him being the you know, him being the detective and having his son take over the Shaft detective business and all that stuff. So I'm thinking that's what they're gonna do, and a lot of people are talking about, oh, Sam Jackson was being, you know, a 60-year-old man trying to walk around trying to flirt with a bunch of younger ladies and all that. It's Shaft. That's what Shaft did. It doesn't matter how old Shaft is. He's going to try to pick up on the ladies. If you've seen some of the things his uncle did in the first one in 2000, he was picking up on some ladies in that one. So, and that guy was in his 60s probably at that point. He's probably mid-60s now. So, yeah. You never know how things go with this. But, anyway, both movies were good, but I'm going to give this Shaft movie a 4 out of 5 because the storyline was supposed to feel more personal, but the villain really was a background character. And it didn't feel as personal, and I don't think it felt like it was as satisfying as when Peebles and that Walter guy finally got what they had coming to them in the 2000 Shaft movie. So this one gets a 4 out of 5. Still a good movie. A lot of it was focused on Shaft trying, to show his son that he's a better person than he's been made out to be and all that. So, overall though, I felt like the storyline between this one and the 2001, I think the 2001 had a beaten storyline. This one had it beat in Shaft being Shaft. That's just how I'm going to say it. And Shaft being Shaft. The 2001 had, good characters and all that. This one didn't have as many characters as the other one. It was mainly Shaft, his son, his dad, and, his son's mom. And that was pretty much all. And eventually the main villain popped up toward the end and got killed by Shaft. So, yeah. That's pretty much the gist of it. The main villain wasn't even that important to this movie. Unlike the 2000 Shaft movie where the main villains were important to the movie. This one, the main villain really wasn't that important. So, apparently Shaft didn't want him hard enough if he couldn't catch him after all those years. And the villain in that one just felt like he was just there to be a plot device. The villains in this one really drove the story. In the 2001, the villains really drove the story. The one in the 2019 one, the villain was just there to be a plot placement. So yeah, both movies were good. I like the 2000 movie a little bit better, even though the 2019 movie had more of Shaft being Shaft. So yeah. But that'll do it for this one. Let me know what you guys thought of the 2000 Shaft movie and the 2019 Shaft movie if you've seen them. I apologize for spoilers for both movies if you haven't seen those movies by now. I mean, heck, the 2000 one's been out for 20 years, and then the one just came out last year, so it's been like a whole year you had a chance to see this movie. So, yeah, both movies were good. I enjoyed the 2001 a little bit better because of the storyline and all that, and I'm not saying it, but, I felt like they should have done more with the villain in the 2019 one. Especially with the fact that he's the reason why Shaft couldn't be in his son's life. So, yeah. But I will bring shout-outs back next week. This video's ran a little long. I just did a Power Ranger one, and I'm kind of wore out already, but, yeah. Plus, my device is draining, so I got to get this video uploaded and that before, so. That'll do it. I'll catch you guys tomorrow for my Facebook Live playthrough of NBA Jam, the greatest basketball game ever. And I just did a Facebook Live video last night on doing AEW Dynamite review from last night. My thoughts on Jeff Cobb showing up there and everything. And I gave an announcement to what I was going to do for my YouTube videos for today. So, there you go. Please like this video, leave a comment, subscribe for more. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Hornby83. Follow me on my Facebook fan page, Mr. Hornby83 Show. Also follow my business page, Trigen Toys, on Facebook. And I'll catch you guys later, and peace out.